Hello, welcome to an episode of Sesh and Mesh. I am Mixed by 8i from Mixedby8i.vision. This is a stream where we just mix, we produce, I answer questions, any questions that you may have about anything music, if I can answer it. So you got me for about an hour or two. Tonight's session, we're going to be mixing a song that I sat on for maybe I re-recorded it in 2020, but I've probably had this song up for about 6 years. Um, and yeah, this is my first time hearing it in full tonight after maybe a year or two. So I'm listening to this with fresh ears, and it'll allow me to go in and hear what I did and hear what could be improved as opposed to the last time I sat here and mixed it. So upon um, looking at this, I can see that there was a lot going on. But I've reset everything, so we're listening to this with fresh ears. As you can see, this is a very, very intricate session, but never fret. Everything is pretty much laid out. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start. Um, let's listen to this song. This song is called "Forgive Me" or "No Forgiveness." I ended up naming it "No Forgiveness," and it was a part of an album that I created in 2014 called Poisoned Ivy. The beginning is a skit that I did, but it's because it came from another track. So let's listen to it. God damn it, I'm sick of this shit, man. I do all this shit for you, and this how the fuck you wanna do me? Alright, bet. No motherfucking forgiveness from now on. You want that shit, gotta text, motherfucker. I hate it gotta be like this, man. Yeah, yeah. Man, this shit was all good about a week ago. Every ball, main pair, I got each of them. Where was all y'all niggas when I needed clothes? Always stayed going ham, I never beef with folks. Niggas frontin' funny how they in the backseat, but swear they running everything like a track meet. Yeah, most of these rappers do what all these other rappers doing. Rap game full of fucking black sheep. If you want it, all you gotta do is ask me. Me and my niggas making movies like Acme. I want the new Ferrari, yeah, the Arachne, so I can bump my music in it like Acme. Much success to everyone that wanna pass me. This shit wasn't overnight, you vigilante. I kept it G when the devil thought he had me. Man, this shit was all good just last week. I be spitting dope, you should be my crack addict. I gave it to her and she threw it back at me. But I don't shut my door with these women. Oh no, no, no. They just hit the door when I'm finished. Man, I'm serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for a business. I'ma hit on with the quickness, I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Ay. I was doing everything to make my mom glad, but seemed like every turn I made it had a different path. Oh well, time to move on to a better option. I'm old enough to know that I can't take whatever option. Yeah, I may be old enough to drink, but still don't make it a choice. You know you love her when she's speaking in a waking up voice. They know it's a nigga season, I'm a Reagan boy. What you saying in your raps? You ain't making a point. Like my bank account, nigga, I just keep it simple. I'm sitting back and reading niggas like a fucking Kindle. My church friends see me now and tell me hit the temple, but let it serve as a symbol that I'm coming off the nipple. Ay. When you see the boy, don't panic. I ain't never make a risk that I couldn't manage. By the time a nigga die, I'll be dynamic. Tell her Hezzy on the come up, look how I brand it. What you see is what you get, I'm on that wissy way. Where was y'all 2 cents when they evicted him? I'll wait. Exactly, so don't try to pitch on how I'm getting paid. No! Hey, be motherfucker.
I got you over your feet. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Nice, nice. Okay, so automatically off the rip, we gotta level everything, and that's a given. Um, what I like is that I still feel like the production is there, and how I intended the song to sound is still there, and I'm happy about that. I think it's arranged. I'm biased, but I think it's arranged perfect. Um, I think it tells a story, and so with that, I would go into mixing it now. So a lot of it is level, like literally 80%, 80 to 90% of the mix is going to be your level. And so if I bring this down, yeah, I was able to do that. Okay. So, like I said, every 80 to 90% of the mix is level. Um the last 5 to 10% is adding effects and things like that to basically get the mix to sit well and kind of like sweeten it up. But if you don't got the levels right, it doesn't matter how many plugins you throw on or how much automation or how much processing that you do to make it sound good. If those instruments and those vocals don't sound like they belong together, which in this case it doesn't, right now it doesn't, um, then there's absolutely no processing that you can do to fix that. And if you do go into processing, you're going to do a lot of small tweaks and a lot of small adjustments. So a reason we level, um although the fader, this little fader here is an after effect. So it happens, the levels that we set here happens after we process everything. So it doesn't matter how much you turn this up or how loud you try to get this, you know, or how quiet you try to make this if you need to turn things down. If you don't got a good balance, uh and there's a difference between gain and volume. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but we level because we want the output to basically sound the same as what we set as our levels. I'm going to spend about 10 minutes mixing this, and let's see. I'll set a timer for 10 minutes now. Okay. I spend about 10 to 15 minutes getting a rough static mix. And obviously if I need to go more, if I need to spend more time, I'm definitely going to spend more time in this area. So, although I set my levels for 10 minutes, that's pretty much a arbitrary number, okay? That's just something I set to push myself to make bolder moves. But really and truthfully, you want to spend majority of your time leveling and balancing your faders beforehand. So what I like to do is I like to set every single instrument and vocal track that's not an aux track, that's an aux track, that's an aux track, that's an aux track, that's an aux track. So with the exception of these tracks here, I want to set up, I want to zero fade everything. Okay, so we've already got our routing set up and everything. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to get into the mix, and I'm actually going to start it at about the middle because that's where a lot of the energy is happening, and this is probably a good spot. And I'm going to set this. I'm going to mute this.
religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious, the Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious, ayy. Serious. Good about a week ago. Every ball main pair, I got each of those. Where was all y'all niggas when I needed clothes? Always stayed going ham, I never beef with folks. Niggas frontin' funny how they in the backseat, but swear they running everything like a track meet. Yeah, most of these rappers do what all these other rappers doing. Rap game full of fucking black sheep. If you want it, all you gotta do is ask me. Me and my niggas making movies like Acme. I want the new Ferrari, yeah, the Arachne, so I can bump my music in it like Acme. Much success to everyone that wanna pass me. This shit wasn't overnight, you vigilante. I kept it G when the devil thought he had me. Man, this shit was all good just last week. I be spitting dope, you should be my crack addict. I gave it to her and she threw it back at me. But I don't shut my door with these women. Oh no, no, no. They just hit the door when I'm finished. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Ayy. I was doing everything to make my mom glad, but seemed like every turn I made it had a different path. Oh well, time to move on to a better option. I'm more me and my niggas making movies like Acme. I want the new Ferrari, yeah, the Arachne, so I can bump my music in it like Acme. Much success to everyone that wanna pass me. This shit wasn't overnight, you vigilante. I kept it G when the devil thought he had me. Man, this shit was all good just last week. I be spitting dope, you should be my crack addict. I gave it to her and she threw it back at me. But I don't shut my door with these women. Oh no, no, no. They just hit the door when I'm finished. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Ayy. I was doing everything to make my mom glad, but seemed like every turn I made it had a different path. Oh well, time to move on to a better option. I'm old enough to know that I can't take whatever option.
still don't make it a choice. You know you love her when she speaking in a waking up voice. They know it's a nigga season, I'm a Reagan, boy. What you saying in your raps, you ain't making a point. Like my bank account, nigga, I just keep it simple. I'm sitting back and reading niggas like a fucking Kindle. My church friends see me now and tell me hit the temple. But let it serve as a symbol that I'm coming off the nipple. Ay, when you see the boy, don't panic. I ain't never make a risk that I couldn't manage. By the time a nigga die, I'll be dynamic. Tell her, has he on the come up, look how I branded. What you see is what you get, I'm on that wissy way. Where was y'all 2 cents when they evicted? I'll wait. Exactly, so don't try to pitch on how I'm getting paid. No! Ay, I be spitting dope, you should be my crack addict. I gave it to her and she threw it back at me. But I don't shut my door with these women. Oh no, no, no. They just hit the door when I'm finished. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for a business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Ay.
I got you on my UV. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Go religious, ay. Poison ivy, motherfucker. Poison ivy, motherfucker. Poison ivy, motherfucker.
I got you on my UV.
Poison ivy, motherfucker. Yeah, so let me get that to do that really fast. We'll set this to touch. Poison ivy, motherfucker.
I got you on my UV.
Poison ivy, motherfucker. Poison ivy, motherfucker.
I got you on my UV. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Poison ivy, motherfucker. Poison ivy, motherfucker.
I got you on my UV.
All right, so I did a rough balance, and there are parts where it dips out, comes back in, dips out, especially with the vocals, a lot of the vocals, and that's okay. You know, the static mix is not where it's not going to be perfect. You know, we're going to do a lot of movement. It just gives us a blueprint and a starting point, you know. Um so it's definitely not, I'm not married to the position of where everything is. Just going to adjust as time moves forward. But I mainly had to do minor tweaks after I got pretty much my level set. So that lets me know that, hey, you're in a good spot. You're just, you know, picking stuff. So yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. So I did go in the NLS bus on the mix bus, and I definitely turned it down because I noticed that it might have been loud. I might have been clipping because it was borderline clipping in here. But in all, everything looks healthy to me. Everything looks perfect. And we'll go ahead and start mixing. I'm gonna set my timer for 30 minutes now, and we'll get started. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on wicked quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go listen. When I'm finished, man, I'm serious. The Lord.
business. I'ma hit him with it. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious, I go when I'm finished. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious, I go when I'm finished. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious, I go when I'm finished. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit finish. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I'll never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Witness, I never. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit him with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now. When it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. Never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Finish. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Finish. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the and I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Finish. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Finish. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religion. business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go business. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now
when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on with the quickness. I ain't asking for forgiveness. I'm promoting me now when it's time to go religious. Man, I'm serious. The Lord is my witness. I never, ever, ever work no more for business. I'ma hit on business. Man, time to go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my own. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Time to go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my own, baby. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Time to go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my own, baby. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you.
Time to go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my own, I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my UV. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. Oh, that's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my UV. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. Oh, that's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my UV. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. Oh, that's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
Go religious. I be motherfucker.
I got you on my UV. Now you claim you wanna leave, yeah. Oh, that's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. That's okay, cause I'll be okay without you. I'll be okay without you, yeah.
So let me walk through the process that I did so far. So in addition to the leveling, when we started mixing, the first thing I'm thinking about is the beat itself, making the beat. I'm pretty much building a blueprint of how I want the beat to sound, um so that the instruments can sit perfectly. And although we set that with the static mix, I did a little bit more to make sure that we had enough space. So you'll note, I think I did this in a static mix, but I did pan the melodies and the pads, just got those synths out of the way because that can pretty much clash with the vocal. And then that would be time spent, EQing and carving out space for that. And I just don't want to do that. So the first thing I did was attack I approached rather the mix bus. So I did nothing with the NLS bus but turn it down so that I can have some headroom. Then on this pool tech, I did something different. Rather than sit here and try to spend time tweaking this pool tech with the settings I'm pretty much already going to use, I decided to challenge myself and look for a preset. And I ended up finding this Nick Brophy mix bus, which I never use presets, especially for the pool tech, because I like to hear the sound that I'm creating as I'm turning these knobs. But for time and simplicity's sake, I definitely like these settings. It has definitely integrated itself pretty much into my workflow, based off of these settings. Um, I use the Shadow Hills mastering compressor, and again, I spend time tweaking this thing to my liking, getting it to the sound. But I spend a lot of time making this sound subtle. And so I was just like, again, let me challenge myself and find some already great presets. And I found this bus discrete iron that basically, off first glance, it you might have thought it turned the level up, but I heard something much more powerful than that. Um, I heard that kick sit back, and I heard that kick marry the uh that kick that I pushed up. It kind of got glued to the song itself, and I thought that was so beautiful. So I did do the volume adjustment to make sure that it wasn't something that I was hearing as a loudness thing. And I was right. It sounded really good doing just that. Then I did nothing with the Oxford inflator because that's something I like to do pretty much after the fact. And then from there, I go straight into mono. So I only use this A1 stereo control to set it to the mono button. It's just an easy, fast way to set it to mono. So as you can hear, I wanted to mainly um, attack the bottom end of the drums. I wanted to get that to marry a little bit based off of what I heard. So I have the kick in the 808 routed to the kick and bass, and they both have the bass and the 808 in here, so that this effect can transition from 808 to bass, and it sounds like one low end instrument. So that's my goal, is to marry things. So rather than have the kick and the bass fight by using separate processing, I just chose to, in this case, route it together, route all three of them together, and just process them separately. So together. So what I did was I took this EQ, and all I did was just basically take out some of that low end rumble. 125 to 250 is where you would hear a lot of that low end coming through. And so the quickest and easiest way to get that to sound great on pretty much all platforms, the easiest way is to basically add saturation and distortion. And so that was my next idea, was making sure that the low end translates. Very rarely does a plugin that I buy integrate itself so quickly into my workflow. And by far, this plugin here, the Magma BB Tubes from Waves, is by far one of the best saturation plugins out there right now. I can go on about this plugin. Like I said, very rarely. The only other plugin that integrated itself so fast in my workflow is this Shadow Hills mastering compressor. It just sounds really good, very subtle, but you notice it if I take it away. With that said, we definitely got tape saturation on this snare, and the only reason is because I felt like that top end was too in your face. I wanted that snare to sit back just a little bit, but not only sit back in a way of volume wise, because obviously we could take the snare and take the fader and bring it down just a little bit, but it was a lot deeper than that. It was, I wanted to crush any transient that had. I didn't feel like in this song, I did pick this snare because of how soft the transient is, but I just used this tape saturation just to soften that transient a little bit, and I believe tape saturation is the best to do that. So I kept it at 15 IPS. I basically didn't touch anything but how much signal is going into the tape plugin. In addition to that is the hi-hat. So the hi-hat is going to give us kind of that bounce, that rhythm. So I wanted to accent that. So what I did was I just added this H comp, set it to the default settings. Only thing I did was turn it down by 2 decibels. The reason I use this is because for some reason, just this on the default setting just adds like a little pumping, like it adds movement to the hi-hat that I kind of like. So I do that on default setting there. And the only other thing was a safety net. So I used the EQ3 one band just to kind of make sure that I wanted to keep the sonic characteristics of this pad, but just in case there was some low end information down there, we wanted to cut that out. So this wasn't really an intended effect to like be noticeable. This was just like, hey, if there's some information down there, let's get rid of it. But pretty much everything is, like I said, produced well, arranged well, so nothing's really clashing with anything. So my technique here is to, let's see, we'll copy that. So my technique here is to determine my ratio. So I already know I'm gonna have a ratio of about 3 to 1. And before I get into that, why did I use compression? So on vocals, you're pretty much always gonna use compression at some point. There's never gonna be a time where you don't have to use compression. My goal for this first compressor, because we use 2 compressors in this instance, my goal for this first compressor is to manage anything that becomes too loud. So I'm not worried about a compressed sound at this point. I'm fixing the problems first. So these first 3 plugins are pretty much going to be fixing the problem. So if there's any. So what I like to do, a trick that I like to do is, I'm going to save this again just in case. So I like to start with a 3 to 1. Then I bring this attack all the way down. Then I bring this release all the way up. So I got the fastest attack, the slowest release. And then I'm dragging this threshold down until I'm getting about 12 dB of compression. Past 10 dB of compression, that compression becomes super noticeable. I push the release up until that vocal, that reduction meter starts to jump. And then I push it back just a little bit so that we can control that, because we don't want to introduce pumping. And then with this attack, I let up on the release. I let up on the attack just enough to let some transients come through. But the goal here, like I said, is to manage those peaks. And then after that, I just set this threshold to go to the very top of that vocal. So I'm getting about no more than 3 dB of gain reduction, as you can see we've introduced here. In this case, I think I was getting about maybe 2 or 3 dB of 2 or 3 dB of gain reduction, but I wanted to push that level a little bit more. So after that, I pretty much add whatever I want. So in this case, I felt like my vocals were a little bit too thin. So I did push about a dB. Let's see, what's that? 200 hertz. I'm pushing this area though so that I can get a little bit of that warmth. So the alternative to this frequency range is that warmthness. So the first thing I did, however, was push this 8,000 hertz up, and that's pretty much standard when it comes to vocals. Pretty much any vocal that I do, I'm pushing up that 8K and above just to get a lot of that presence and to get that vocal to sit a little bit more on top of the beat. And so you'll notice when I push this up, that vocal just all of a sudden just sounded on top. It wasn't a volume thing, it was more of a tone thing. So that tone allowed us to sit that vocal on top. I cut out any low rumble that was there from what we didn't fix, and compression also tends to kind of add that back in. So we definitely cut that out. After that, I'm introducing another compressor, and as you'll see, my first thought was to go for a 2A because that's my default. So I did that kind of out of habit. My voice is very bright, and those LA2As to me kind of add a little bit more brightness. And in that case, it was brightness that I kind of didn't favor. So I just threw on another R compressor because my mindset is workflow. Same technique here, but the mindset is different. So now we're using compression to shape the dynamics. We're basically changing the shape of the waveform. Keep in mind that you want your vocals to be as dynamic as possible, and if you can hear the compression, then you're pretty much kind of doing too much compression. In this case here, what I'm doing is I'm basically turning down the threshold, just getting a little bit into that vocal, and we're doing a much lower ratio. So we got almost 2 to 1. We got 1.8 to 1. I'm pushing this to allow energy back. So once I feel that that vocal almost sounds like it's not being compressed, I'm I'm stopping right there, and the release is a lot faster. And that's pretty much a tone decision. So I use this release knob as a tone knob, um, which basically means if I were to um, set this a little bit faster, the vocals would sound a little bit more aggressive. But if I set it a little bit more back, they tend to sound more smooth. So I kind of set it in the middle, so it's not too aggressive, but it's not too smooth. The other thing I added to pretty much create my tone was more top end. So I did a high end shelf at 8K. Now I'm doing a high end shelf, or pretty much a high end bell curve at 15,000 hertz. On this Manny Marroquin, by far, by the way, one of my favorite engineers. Um, this bell curve though, on his EQ plugin, adding 15K, I almost always do this in addition to adding the 8K, because it just adds this expensive sheen to it that just sounds so magnificent. Again, with compression, we're introducing a lot more of that, 300 to 500 hertz range. So I tend to take that out, but I tend to move around to see exactly where it is, just to see. But it's not a big deal, because we've pretty much controlled that tone. But just in case, it's there. And guess what we've added to our vocal chain? You got it. That is the Magma BB tubes. I want this vocal in this sense to sound expensive. So I don't know how to explain it, but this vocal just this plugin makes everything sound like you recorded it in $1 million studio. I did the beauty setting. I didn't do a lot of aggressive beast setting. I normally do beauty in addition to beast, but I took an opportunity to add a little bit more top end. I felt like I could get a little bit more out of it. Um, and this is clean top end. This isn't sounding too harsh, at least in my ears. It's not sounding harsh at all, right? So, again, I just added a de-esser at the end of the chain. Same frequency range. This time I did a split. This is just one of those safety net things that I didn't hear it be harsh, but just in case it's a harsh, let's attack it. All right. So from there, you're pretty much done with the mix. And let's see, we got I pretty much move my settings over. And my thought process behind the background aux bus is pretty simple. It's match them to the main vocals, make them sound like one complete vocal, and you don't want those background vocals to outshine the main vocals. Okay, so I haven't heard this in stereo, but I promise you, if I hear this in stereo, those vocals are going to be wide, and they're going to be complementing the main vocals. So I got this de-esser, same same EQ setting. Oh, by the way, I did a low shelf at 390 hertz, almost 400, um and below, because that is a little bit it was a little bit too muddy for me. And so, as you can see, I just brought back in 200 hertz, and I did a bell, by the way. I'll show you this one trick that I did really fast with the drum bus, because I don't want you to think that I just left it out. I actually forgot. I did. So the drum bus, this is by far my favorite compressor to use on drums, just to get some drums to smack. Normally I would have to set up a parallel compression bus, which is what I did here. We can go ahead and get rid of that because we don't need it. Why? Because I can set these settings to really smash that compressor. Well, not really smash it, but we're getting about 10 to 12 dB of gain reduction, so quite a lot. But I can back up off of it by using this mix knob, so we're getting half of the signal and half of the effect. So it kind of creates this parallel compression technique, and we just add the makeup gain to bring it back. So the result is drums that smack, right? And so we already got some smacking drums. This just glues everything together. So very wonderful compressor to use for glue. So that's pretty much the mix. The only other thing I have to add is volume, the reverb and delay. There's a lot more I want to show you guys, but this mix is pretty much done. Like I said, don't be intimidated by how large the mix is. If you have it organized and routed correctly, as you can see, I didn't have to go on every single track and, you know, bounce every put effects on everything, and I didn't have to put effects on anything just because it was there and just because somebody told you to. Always remember to, and I'm going to look at you when I say this. Always remember to listen to your song. You know, I think someone said it best. We like to listen to music passively. Like we listen to music and our first thought, we listen to the songs and our thoughts are, I gotta put plugins on. I gotta mix this. I gotta mix this, right? But I encourage you to really sit back and listen. If you're an engineer, really listen to the song that you're about to mix, right? Really take in all of the instruments, really hear everything for what it is. And you may find that you don't have to do a lot. A lot of my problem was I listened to the internet. And the internet is a wonderful place to learn mixing. Once I started getting into watching tutorials and things like that, there's some amazing engineers out there. Even some of our favorite, the top dogs when it comes to engineers, I'm learning from, Manny Marroquin. I'm learning from Jason Joshua. I'm learning from Leslie Brathwaite. I'm learning from the CLA, I'm learning from these guys, but then there's also some bad information out there. There's also a lot of people telling you to have these default settings that just don't work for every mix. And, it's not a dig to them because, I myself consider myself in that same space. I'm going to tell you, I used about this much compression. I did this and I did that. But the takeaway from this is to listen to your song. Listen to what the song needs, and you may find that you don't have to do anything at all but level. Maybe you just need to turn stuff up. Maybe you just need to turn stuff down. You know, that I'm a big advocate for making things simple, making things streamlined. You see all these tracks in this session here. When I first started off, this would have given me a heart attack, right? I would have given up. I would have definitely given up on mixing if I had to work sessions like this. But you're gonna find that as you progress, if you're not already, you're working on sessions this large. My sessions never get any smaller. This is probably the smallest session that I've worked on in a long time. It's all about organization, listening to the mix, setting it up. And you'll see once we did all that, all of this was pre-done because, I always future proof myself, but all of this stuff is routed, so I can go in and just start mixing. And so with that said, I have a free guide. If you head on over to Mixed by 8i.vision, there's a free guide for you where I teach you 7 concepts of efficient mixing. I almost said the link is in the description below, but I am going to say it because if you're watching this on YouTube, the link is in the description below. Thanks for checking out the first episode. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching.